All right, since everything has clear, let's open the debate. To open the debate, I called the Prime Minister. Time is yours.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Cool, cool. Wait, give me a second. I'm arranging my paper. Okay. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. In the political battlefield, we need to know that quantity is more important than quality. We think exactly under the current status quo, AOC squad doesn't even fulfill this need which is being needed for you to have the political capability to win in the election, right? We think exactly because of it, we regret the idealization of AOC squad. Our stance in response to this kind of situation in which AOC squad is being opposed to a lot of people because of their proposal and policy, we think it is exactly we have to stop idolizing them. Our goal in here is to create a proper representative for this political party and gain supporter as much so we will be able to have a proper representative from Democrat Party. Our model is by not idolizing, we mean by not glorifying and also uh, glorifying the squad as the icon of the Democrats. So in order for these people to be able to introspect in the long run, right? But now 2 points of things that I'm going to talk in my speech. First of all, what is the interest of the political party, which is Democrats in this context? And secondly, how it is going to be beneficial for the Democrat and how this can gain political power for the Democrat in the long run, right? But now let's see the interest of the Democrats. Let's see the problem in here, right? Because we think the problem is exactly because the proposal that is being proposed by the AOC squad isn't even really in line with the interests of the society. Things like Green New Deal, things like free healthcare, or things like uh, uh, free healthcare and also a completely reduced greenhouse emission, right? We don't think those kind of things is even realistic to the current status quo and in line with the interests of the society. We don't know how under their of the house by keep idolizing this kind of people will ensure that this kind of people, that the AOC squad will have the political capability. Because we think exactly, since it is more uh, quantity oriented or vote oriented, we don't know. We think that the most important part is the interest of the society, and we have to cater to that interest, right? But now, onto the second point about how this will be able to gain political power for the Democrat Party. We think since the AOC squad is the icon or the and contingent to the identity of the Democrat, exactly, we want to stop idolizing them, so they will be able they will be able to uh, to change their policy and also see their policy see their policy as solve the problematic one, right? Because we think under the current status quo, there's no any introspection coming from this party, right? Exactly, they keep being idolized by this kind of Democrats party, and they have no any incentive to even create introspection or even propose another proposal for them to have the political capability. For instance, in our side of the house, we think by stop idolizing the AOC squad, they will be able to have the incentive to change their policies since they have no any longer supporter even from the Democrat Party, right? Exactly. Things like free healthcare for all people, we don't think it is even realistic to begin with, right? Because there's a lot of trade-off, such as the economic and also the funding that is not even sustainable or sufficient, right? Because exactly, we think by stop idolizing them, they will be able to introspect and change their policy. For instance, changing the free healthcare into making the price or the cost of the healthcare more accessible. There way it make sense, right? Because we think things like also completely reduced greenhouse emission will be also replaced, will be also changed by allocate funding towards towards to solve the climate change problem, right? That is where it makes sense and in line with the interest of the society. So by the time we already in line and makes sense, the policy makes sense to the society itself, we will be able to gain the support itself, and so the political party itself will have more chance in the society to be elected and have the political power to begin with, right? Right, because at least under our side of the house, we will be able to have this representative to be elected, and also even if at the cost of the main policy itself, the original policy itself is not being proposed, we think we still create change, ladies and gentlemen. We still can give welfare to people, and also can solve the racial problem, and also the climate change problem in the society itself, and we also be achieve under outside the house. That is the exclusivity and the tipping point under our proposal, right? Now, comparatively, under their side of the house, we don't think just by sticking to their side of the house proposal and also keep idolizing this kind of people, we will be able to gain introspect, right? Exactly, because these people will become more idolized even more, since there's no any feel of much of the need to change that policy to begin with, right? So exactly by our proposal, we are the only one who is able to change and also make a proper representative towards this AOC squad, so they will be able to in line with the interests of the society, and also gain supporter from the society, right? The burden that the opposition team need to prove to us, there are three burdens, right? First of all, how under this of the house they can fulfill the interest of the Democrat Party, which is being elected. Secondly, how under this of the house, the policy itself can be in line with the interest of the society. And thirdly, how under this of the house, even if we keep idolizing them, will create any change for the will create any change and can fulfill their main interest as a politician to create change in the society itself. We think those three, by those three parameters, they only can win this debate, right? We have already fulfilled those parameters, so proud to propose.
All right. I thank the Prime Minister for that speech. To open the case from the opposition, I called the leader of opposition. Time is yours.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panels, let's just directly go to the main problem right now. The main problem is that the gray side and people of society in America right now thinks that there's no difference between the Republic and Democrats. And we think by the Democrats idolizing the AOC squad in the first place, we think that Democrats would receive more votes because it shows a unique thing from the Democrat Party that the Republicans don't have. But before I go to my arguments, let me just go and mention some rebuttals. When they say that it is not a good thing for Democrats, we think that by the Democrats promoting the AOC squad from the first place, it is one of the aspects that make the Democrats win the election in the first place, right? And when they see it brings incentive for AOC squad to do good, we think that the AOC squad can adjust in the first place if it's not realistic. But then, even so, we think that they can introspect. Exactly because they are given the spotlight, Democrats would care more because they already get the attention from the public, which is crucial to win the votes in the first place. So what do we agree on in this debate? Both sides agree that we want to make people's vote for Democrats. We want to make Democrats' votes better, right? But what we disagree here is that we cannot achieve that by not idolizing the AOC squad. What we want to do is that we want to idolize the AOC squad. Therefore, our goal is clear: is to make Democrats to have more supporter, and we'll explain this throughout our case. The one who can the team that can explain this more would win this debate. So if we can prove to you that Democrats promoting the AOC squad would bring benefits to the Democrats' value, we win this debate. And if we can prove to you which shows more positive changes to the Congress itself, we also win this debate. So first argument, why is this in line with the values of Democrat? First of all, let me just characterize the squad, because we think that it's really important to do so, right? We think that this group is very strong, that they have a large supporter basis. We see AOC as one of the most prominent politicians in social media with millions of followers. We often see her as an icon, talk about in tweets and posts for the things that they have done for their respective states. And why is it important? And let me just tell about the three aspects that make the AOC so special. In women, how they are person of color, and how they are young. Women, they're considered unfit to lead because women are stereotyped to have a tendency to feeling in contradiction of logic. We see a substantial proof of this as Kamala Harris being the very first female vice president despite all the years the state has been independent. There is certainly an imbalance of gender in US politics, and we believe that Democrats, which inherently support liberal values, want to fix this, and we think that this is achieved by if they're supporting the woman. How about person of color? They lose faith in the political system. Their advocacy isn't hurt by the white collar in politics, etc. That said, we think that the squad will bring change to the society, that they are capable to do so, and we think that Democrats also is aligned with the goal of the Democrats and also aligned to the people of America, the citizens of America, right? But what the third aspect is how they are young. Most young people think that politics is for the old. We see in the US how the regeneration is very slow. They have two presidential candidates with age over 70. There is low incentive and low proportion of young politicians in US policy because they think they'll never be heard. Their ideas are considered irrelevant by politician parties, etc. This quote is the real proof of how it is possible to happen, of how young politicians can make a change in society, and we think that this is also aligned with the Democrats' value. But let's see the views, right, on how it is aligned in line with the Democrats. The Democrats' value is how they value combating climate change, eradicate discrimination, accepting towards minorities, etc. We think that these three things is aligned with the Democrats' value, and we think that this will bring a better impact to the Democrats. So let me just conclude this. They will face a Democratic Party to pull in supporters that have been previously untouched by faces of old white men. But the next thing we should prove is why idolization is the best way to fulfill Democratic Party's interest, right? Three things in this. We think it is the first step towards pulling in supporters from the gray area, exactly what I said in the problem in status quo right now, which are the people we characterize as young people who have lost faith in the government. If we idolize them, this looks like encouraging stan culture in Twitter, example, and etc. This puts the squad at the very front page of social media. Why is this important? It's important to first pull in many supporters who will be affected by their love for the squad to actually look into Democratic Party's policies. This makes Democratic Party policies known and spread by people who love the squad, those who never had any interest in politics before. But even if in some way idolization will paint them in a very good light, that it diminishes their flaws, but we think it's okay because there will always be checks and balance in both public and government. How public do research and government, or for example, the Republicans or other Democrats in the Congress will keep them in check to be aligned from the interest. Second argument, how Democrats can gain more political power. So what is the problem here? The problem is clear that Democrats care for so basically Democrats really care for climate change and science as well as many other things, but for too long they have not been able to fully create political change for this cause in the Congress and the Senate. This is because they lack of support, and we think that it is not normal for the Senate or for the Congress to do this. That's said, and they cannot do it because of society demand. So what happened if they? So why does it really benefit them? Because when you provide idolization, you give additional support on the squad in the Congress and so forth. We think that with this support, it will change the Congress mindset and allow the policy changes Democrats want. How policy change that are in line with the Democrats in the first place. So why is this really exclusive and why we can only find this in the opposition side? Because under government, under gov, um, Democrats will continue to be this so-so party that have many values unrepresented in Congress and Senate because they do not show that they have many political supports. That said, concluding the case of opposition, we think that this is aligned with the values of Democrats. We have characterized the squad and why it really promotes the value of Democrat. We already explained why idolization them is the best way to fulfill Democratic Party's interest, and we already explained how Democrats can gain more political power in this sense. With this, I proudly oppose this motion. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that speech. To extend the case from the side of the government, I called the Deputy Prime Minister. Time is yours.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, I'm gonna start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panels, just because AOC and the group is a person of color and is a woman and is under 50, that doesn't mean that you have to idolize them. That doesn't mean you have to glorify them, because you shouldn't support politicians because of that. Why? You need to focus on not what they are, on what their skin looks like, on what they look like, but on what they do, the policies they bring, right?
Here.
Now, moving on to my rebuttals, I only have 1 point of rebuttal for today's debate. They said that in their side, it will create introspect, right? 2 responses. Number 1, this is completely untrue. Introspection won't even happen in their side of the house, right? Why? Because they even said that people are going to idolize AOC and the group and the squad, right? Glorification and idolization won't create introspect because people will see them as these gods that can't do wrong, right? They also haven't even explained how glorification is going to manifest and happen in their side of the house and what effect it can bring, right? And even if this is true, my second point, this is completely insignificant because even if it happens in their side of the house and introspect does happen, in our side of the house, it's going to be bigger and people are going to introspect the AOC even more because they won't have any idolizing happening, right? Now, I'm going to move on to my points. I have 2 points for today. The number 1 is why we should not idolize and stand politicians. And the second one is why would the squad be harmed by this kinds of idolization, right? Moving on to my first point on why we should not idolize and stand politicians. This directly clashes with what they said, which is idolizing is the first step of getting supporters, right? Because we believe that standing politicians, especially the squad, is very harmful, right? For example, young Democrats only stand the squad and only support the squad just because a member of AOC, Ilhan Omar, plays among us. Yeah. Just because AOC is a group made by person of color, women, and youth, they also stand that, right? We should not be obligated to idolize them, especially as the Democrats. Why? Moving on to my first layer, which is that politicians are going to disappoint us. This is clearly a harm to Democrats, right? Why? Because as we know, politicians have always disappointed us in the first place. For example, let me take the example of Obama, Jokowi, etc., etc. While the first time we would think, oh, their policies align with what we want, but in the end, they won't even fulfill what we want. Why? Because they make questionable decisions that won't even align on what they said in the first place. This is because they are too idealistic when they're creating their policies and their policies, right? Especially from the squad, because their goals are too far stretched and too big. For as my prime minister said, that they have examples on making policies of free healthcare for all US, when this is completely idealistic and it's not going to be fulfilled anywhere, right? But even if the squad is not going to disappoint the people and their stanners, they still won't fulfill their own policy, because the moment you idolize someone, you don't see them as humans, right? You see them as these gods that can only do the best things for you. So when they do only the bare minimum, you'll always expect the best from them, and you will always completely be disappointed by their policies and what they bring in their political things, right? Comparatively, in our side of the house, people won't even have as high of an expectation, right? Why? Number one, because we don't idolize. We don't see them as higher than us, and we see them as just politicians that is going to bring our policies and what we want. Also, we don't support policies. We support policies, right? Not the politician. So we're not glorifying the politician itself. We just support the policies that they are going to bring. In conclusion, we shouldn't idolize politicians, especially the squad, because they will always disappoint us at the end of the day. Moving on to my second layer on why the squad will be harmed if we even idolize them. This directly clashes with their problem identification that gay people will support the AOC and the squad because they idolize, right? Let me state that supporters are all going to be young people, which is impressionable, but they are going to be the most of the supporters, right? Because they are the most that means they are going to be the most impactful. But truly, these kinds of supporters, which is young and impressionable, are just going to bandwagon on what they follow on the social media, right? Why? Because number one, it is considered popular and hip to actually follow these kinds of squad, right? They think that they're woke just because they stand AOC. They see it on Twitter, social media, Instagram, that all the people are standing this squad, and they don't even think twice on what they're seeing, and they just say, "Oh, I want to be popular, so I'm gonna stand AOC. I'm gonna stand the squad."
Yeah.
But when the moment you ask them, what is the AOC's policy? Why are you supporting them so much? They won't even know, right, ladies and gentlemen? They won't even know the policies, what they're looking for. They just say that, oh, I saw them playing Among Us, so I just stand them, right? This will harm the squad. Why? Because when the Republicans know that all the supporters of AOC and the squad is just stanners, right? The squad will have a bad reputation because Republicans would think, oh, all those supporters are just bandwagoners that don't even know what they are trying to reach at the end of the day. It's just filled with young, stupid children. They just follow people and bandwagon people, right? On the comparative, if we don't idolize in our side of the house, there will be 2 points that will happen. Number one, it will be less bandwagoning because people then will follow the AOC and the squad just because they believe them. There will be more knowledgeable people who support their policy, not just on how hip they are. So the amount of people that's going to idolize it's going to be supporting AOC is going to be it's going to be more knowledgeable, right? And they will be taken more seriously by people because they think, oh, they are knowledgeable and they actually know what the AOC is trying to do, right? But even if this squad also gets support outside of idolization, the policy is still going to be bad because they have no introspect, because supporters and their standards are still going to idolize them. The moment that they idolize them, as I said time and time again, they won't even criticize them. They will think that they are gods and they can't do anything wrong. In conclusion, we shouldn't idolize them because it will ruin the squad themselves at the end of the day, their policies and all. That's why we are proud to propose. Thank you so much.
All right, I thank the Deputy Prime Minister for that speech. To extend the case from the opposition, I call the Deputy Leader of Opposition. Time is yours.
My POI preference is you just unmute yourself and I will answer or deny your POI. Let me set up my timer. I'll start in 3, 2, 1. Panels, government side of the House seems to not understand that this motion is for the best interest of the Democrats. It means that whatever we debate on, it must be for the Democrats' interest. It must be for their political party to grow. We think that's the best interest of the Democrats. But then what's really problematic about government's side of the case is that they do not truly value what Democrats' values are, because we think that the moment you settle for lesser policies, the moment you settle for standards that are not like AOC, we think that's the moment you will. That's the moment you Democrats are not truly Democrats, right? What points do we bring you up in our first speaker? First, about representation and how AOC is the past representation. How they responded to this is basically they say that, oh, you should not stand politicians just because who they are, but what they do. Panels understand that what we have explained to you in our first speaker is that the representation that's happening here is not merely because who they are, but also because what they do. The moment young women and also people of color look at this spot, they will realize that they too can create a change. This is a benefit that have never been responded by side government. We think that this representation is more than who they are. It's also about how minorities can also strive in politics. This is something that have never been responded. But we also brought you a second point about how idolization will create more support. Minimum response to this, I'll explain it in my rebuttals. 3 rebuttals and 1 extension. Rebuttal, they say that under this side of the house, there will be better introspection and better politicians. Understand that the moment you do not idolize, the moment you idolize, you create more spotlight and you create more attention. Naturally, there will be more media exposure to the AOC squad. We think the moment this happens, it's very likely that they will grow more aware that even the mere error they do can end their career. And this is exactly why introspection will be much better under our side of the house. Under their side of the house, there is minimum media exposure about this. And we've told you how public generally, most of the young people are inherently already not interested in politics. And that is why political policies, etc., will never be thoroughly understood by the public under their side of the house. This is why introspection for politicians will be much better. Check and balance from society will be much better when you put on spotlight on people who are relatable, on people who the public actually are interesting to the public, and that is why politicians will be more aware to ensure all their policies are actually good. That is why introspection is much better under our side. Second rebuttal about how they say politicians are all disappointing, right? 2 responses to this. First response, they say that most of Democrats' goals are idealistic, like free healthcare, and these will never achieve. Understand, panels, that most of these idealistic goals have been proven to be possible to achieve. We see free healthcare in other countries like Germany. We see free healthcare in the UK, like the national health system in the UK. We see that these kinds of rights are simply values that have not been manifested in the US, but it does not mean that it is totally impossible to achieve. The same goes for other changes, like for racial rights, etc. We think that those kinds of rights are generally just policy changes that are inherently very simple to make, but yet it has not been garnered enough support to actually be implemented. But then even if these idealistic goals are difficult to achieve, I'll explain in my extension later on how it's still better under our side. Second response in this rebuttal, if the goals are even if like these goals are like really difficult, it's much better achieved under our side of the house, and it will be less disappointing under our side of the house, because when you idolize, there are 2 scenarios that might happen. First, the public will be skeptical, and this is why politicians will be much better, right? When the public, when you reach out to people who are skeptical of when you idolize things, then you will want to reach out to that section of the public and ask out their aspirations and like revise your policies, etc. This is why politicians will be much better under our side. No, thank you. And on the second scenario, we think that public will support them, and this is exactly good because that's what the Democrats are seeking, right? They want more votes, they want more support from the public, and that is why it's much better to idolize. That is why politicians would be less disappointing under our side of the house. But then, moving on to my third rebuttal, right, about the gray area on which side of the house will actually win this part. They agree, government side of the house agrees that most of the gray area are young people. And this is exactly why under our side of the house, when most of these people are young, they initially do not want to engage in politics. It's much better when you also idolize and put on a pedestal icons that are also relatable to them, who are young and can create change. Also, when they said about bandwagoning, we don't think this is
Perfect.
because there are also no, thank you. There are also many people who actually seek out to these icons because of two reasons. First, because of inspiration, because of how minorities can actually create change, and secondly, on policy research. Secondly, they already research on the policies. We think that's really. We've also told you how it's important to expose this gray area to to politics first, and then they will search about what policies they actually do. So most of the time it's between these two. But then even if it's true it's bandwagoning, we think that it's okay because now Democrats have a large base to change. We think that's the better, more practical way to achieve political success. Moving on to my extension on how idolizing is creating a higher standard. Problem on the government, you want to settle with not having green policies, you want to compromise important rights for POC and women, etc. Picking a political party is a party which strives for change that are in line with their values. It is problematic when you settle for less and it's really an opposition Democrats' values. We need AOC sweat because you give a higher bar to achieve and strive. So we think not only that is principally just that you still try to fight because it's better to scream than be unheard. The moment Democrats settle for less, they're inherently not fighting for Democrats at the first place. At least when you do not achieve zero emissions, under our side, you can still achieve 5 emissions. That's much better.
All right, I thank the Deputy Leader of Opposition for that speech. To close the debate from the government side of the House, I call the government whip. Time is yours.
Hello. Is my voice audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, let me set my timer. Okay. Okay, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Opposition side of the House doesn't know what they're talking about and only gave contradictions between first and second speaker, which I will explain right now before moving on to my two clashes. Firstly, they have given an insufficient contextualization to us what the idolization looks like under the side of the House. They have failed to actually contextualize it to us, right? Secondly, a contradiction between the second speaker's speech where she said that the younger political will not care about politics. Exactly that they don't care about politics. They only care about who AOC is, not what the squad does. We believe they have already lost this debate from the very second speaker. Third speaker, I'm sorry, you cannot defend anything about this contradiction, ladies and gentlemen. Exactly because of what the second speaker say about why these young people or young politicians do not care about politics, they have already lost this debate, right? Because that directly support our case where we said so, right? Two clashes I'm going to bring into the debate. Firstly, about the interests of Democrats. Secondly, which can gain more voters. First clash about the interests of Democrats. They told you that, they want to get representation as a Democrat, right? Two responses, panel. Firstly, it's unimportant. This shouldn't be debated. Why do they keep bringing about this, right? This shouldn't be debated because why? It's inexclusive. You don't need to idolize them, right? Why? At the very least, representation exists under both sides. Politicians still exist under our side of the House. At the very least, the squad are still politicians under our side of the House. We don't understand why are they bringing the fact that, these interests of Democrats are also to gain representation because we say that under our side of the House, these squads still
still exist, ladies and gentlemen. They didn't prove to us on why the squad won't be a politician under our side of the house. We believe their side of the house is inexclusive. Their interest of Democrats shouldn't be credited at all, right? We believe that their statement about that is inexclusive, right? Secondly, they told you about bandwagon is okay. Two responses. Firstly, panel, they never responded to us on my second speaker problem, right? Under their side of the house, where the squad will be mocked because of the young generation, right? I don't think that they have any response on why, when the young politicians are only the one voting this AOC squad, it's still okay, right? Because what we see is this squad will be actually be mocked the moment that there's only younger politicians that only support this AOC due to the bandwagon, right? We believe that this problem that we still propose to the other side of the house still stands, and third speaker should defend about this. Secondly, even if we still have to buy this argument, it's untrue. At the end of the day, these young politicians don't know what the policy because of bandwagon, right? And because of why these people from the squad come from the same state as this young generation, right? We say that this bandwagon will just create a young politician who actually do not know what the policies are. Because why? Because the moment that they just vote the squad because of who they are, means that these young politicians are already bad, right, to begin with, because they just vote based on who they are, not on what they do, right? Which has been conceded by the second speaker on why they do not actually care about the politics, means that these politicians are already bad to begin with. The voters of this AOC are already bad to begin with, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that in conclusion, we are in line with the Democrats. Why? Panels, notice how as a Democrat, you always want a representative that caters to majority. But what's majority in status quo is Republicans. AOC are not in line with Republicans. The moment how the policy of AOC are idealistic. For example, the Grand New Deal, right? About the climate change and gun violence, free healthcare. These are not in line with the Republicans. Why so? Republicans do not want policy that are idealist. Why? For example, Republic are opposing Democrats. Why? In the US, the blue and red are always clashing. Republicans versus the Democrats. What it means, we are in line the moment that at least the Democrat interests are fulfilled, the moment that the squad will cater to moderate people by changing the policy that caters to moderate about what we told you about the introspection, right? The moment that we regret them, the moment that we regret this motion, means that this squad will actually introspect and will of course change the policy in order for them to cater to majority, which has already been framed by my first speaker on how the political spectrum is always about supporters, is always about power of supporters. We believe that we are already in line with we are already in line with the Democrats. The moment that as Democrats, we of course want a representation that actually can cater to majority. They never proven to us on why majority can still exist under their side of the house. Us leftists are the one that actually exclusive with this supporters that can actually cater to majority. The moment that when we regret them, the squad will actually introspect and will of course want to gain more followers, right? We win the first clash. Second clash about which can gain more voters. They told you that supporters are already many under their side of the house. One response, panel, no, it's untrue. Notice how the supporters in US political battleground is based on electoral college, and it's only based on electoral college, right? College which we already know. For example, New York, Washington, and etc., which are the states that the squad come from, right? We should know that, but not from the moderate states because of how idealistic it is. This shows to us on how people are actually voting the squad based on where they come from, right? But the moderate state, such as states other than New York, Washington, and etc., are not voting the Democrats, and because we don't know that because on how the idealist policy that the squad are creating are not in line with them, right? This proves to us on how the supporters are actually much more many under our side of the house. The moment that the idealist policy that they're creating is not in line with majority and Republicans of the state, right, ladies and gentlemen? They never proven to us on why supporters are already enough, right, ladies and gentlemen? The second thing they say is idolizing is first step of getting supported. Two responses. Firstly, it's untrue. It's not the first step of getting supporters because idolizing is supporting because of who they are, not what they do. These supporters are younger political generation who most likely vote do bandwagon. This is bad. Why? You are just idolizing but not criticizing them because idolizing is supporting based on who they are. What does this mean? What is a first step of getting supporter is when you actually show your policy that is in line with majority or society, which has been proven to you that the majority of people are still these Republicans, right? right? We believe that the first step of getting support is when you actually show your policy, not through idolizing, because idolizing is not the first step, because people do not know your policy. This is why people actually do not support the squad, right? Secondly, even if they get supporter, it's unjustified. Why? These supporters are supporters who can actually criticize, which can lead to a bad politician. The moment these politicians are getting young generations are just bandwagon. They do not get votes from majority, right, ladies and gentlemen. It's a bad politician. The moment that this young generation would not criticize them, the moment that they're just implementing bandwagon, this young generation cannot criticize the squad, right? The squad will just end up as being a political representative that is not in line with the majority of Republicans. What's in conclusion? We gain more followers due to the good policies. Why? Panel, we told you on how only our side are able to gain more voters, more political power. Why? The moment that now the squad, we regret them, right? Which is Republican, and the majority of people are Republicans and moderate people, and they are not in line with the squad. The squad won't have the check and balance. Even opposition has it. It's better under government. The moment the check and balance is exclusive and affirmative, it's the check and balance given from Republicans and majority, right? These Democrats and moderate society will be more in line with the realistic policy. We gain the more followers. Legislature should go to the grand final stage. And gentlemen, thank you.
All right. I thank the government whip for that speech to post the debate from the whip times your
Okay, my PRI preference is just unmute your mic. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, let's first address the backlash that they talk about in their third speaker speech, right? Because I think it's pretty funny, because they're the one that backlash in the first place. They try to tell you that when my second speaker told you that young people don't have interest in politics, that means that we will get bad supporters. But here's the thing, right? They need to prove to us then why, if this same condition happened under their side of the house, these young people will even be interested into politics in the first place. They have to prove to you this if they want to win this debate, right? And it's too late for them to do it in reply. What do we have here under our side of the house, right? We say that even if the young people under our side of the house, it's true that we concede that they don't really have that much interest in politics in the first place. They are the ones that we want to actually target, right? By the Democratic Party idolizing AOC squad. Just like how government already told you about how AOC plays among us. This is the kind of tactics that the Democratic Party will do to gain that supporters from the gray area, right? There is no actually any response from them, from their side of the house, how they will gain the supporters at all, right, from the very first place. At least under our side of the house, even if they turn out to not be good and critical supporters, we actually gain the supporters first. And I think it's really critical to understand that this debate should be about whether it's good for the democratic interest or not. And I say that it's pretty good if we actually get supporters that are previously untouched inside government, right? But second of all, they also I would also like to clarify what they said about how it's inexclusive.
Sorry,
that
can
yeah?
we pause the timer? The chair for this round was kicked out of the Zoom.
Okay,
Really
sure.
sorry about that. Yeah.
Test. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, sorry guys for the delay. Tadi keluar sendiri. Oke. Government whip boleh opposition whip boleh start dari awal nggak? Soalnya tadi baru mulai udah langsung ke lift.
Okay, sure.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Okay, I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, let's first address the backlash that they pointed out in their third speaker, right? Because I think it's pretty funny that they try to tell us that it's wrong for us to say that young people don't have any interest in politics, right? Because it's true, young people really don't have any interest in politics. But what they have to prove to you on their side of the house is how they can draw in these young people who don't have any interest in politics to even support Democratic Party's interest in the first place, right? We have already managed to proven to you to this by idolizing these the AOC squad, right? Because they try to tell you that we don't actually have any image on how this idolization is supposed to look like. But clearly, from the very first speaker, we already told you that this looks like the Democratic Party, for example, devising tactics and strategies like how AOC plays among us, or how we will support the stan culture of, for example, people saying I stand AOC in Twitter. That is the kind of tactics and strategies that we want Democratic Party and their arsenal of the House to pursue, right? So when they try to tell you that we shouldn't actually have these young people to become our supporters in the first place, then they need to prove to us why then under their side of the house with no tactics like this at all, they will still be able to actually draw in these young people who don't care about politics in their side of the house for them to win this debate. Because they try to tell you that they want to draw in supporters who actually care about the policies, right? But they actually also concede to the characterization that young people don't care about politics. So we don't understand how these young people who don't care about politics will actually want to join the Democratic Party by looking at their policies. So I think that's a very big contradiction on their side of the house that you should pay attention to, right? But they also try to tell us that why shouldn't this squad just be politicians and not become the face of the party, right? Because clearly this is exclusive under our side of the house. When the Democratic and the Republican Party, by the people in the gray area, is viewed as the same corrupt old white man demographic, right? Right. On our side of the house, we actually solve this because we push forth a new face of the Democratic Party, which is people of color, women, and people who are young, who actually relate to the people in the gray demographic area, right? And this is the kind of thing that is exclusive under our side of the house and won't happen on their side of the house when you don't push forward these icons that actually are in line with the people in the gray area we are wanting to actually integrate into Democratic Party, right? Two clashes in this debate. First of all, on how we best draw in supporters, and second, on the credibility of the Democratic Party. Onto the first clash, right, on how we best draw in supporters. They try to tell you that we wouldn't get any supporters because the majority of voters in America is Republican. Notice something so wrong with the statement, right? Because when they try to prove to you that we wouldn't get any Republican supporters, this is not exclusive to our side of the house. Their side of the house is also still a Democratic Party that wouldn't draw in any Republican supporters, right? That is not what we're trying to actually debate about in this debate. We're trying to debate about the people who are still stuck in the gray area, who don't understand the difference between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, because to them they are all the same old white men. They don't understand that the Democratic Party can actually push forth interests and policies that will benefit these people in the gray area, right? That is how we are exclusive in this sense, right? We're not trying to pull in supporters from the Republican Party because government wouldn't be able to do that either, right? We're trying to pull in supporters who are still unsure of their allegiances. And the only way we think we can do that, we have already characterized from the very first start, is by idolizing AOC squad. We've already proven to you how many of the people in the gray squad is in the gray area, is people who are POC, who are under 50 and who actually have no faith in the government. And the only way we can pull in these people is to actually push forth an icon that represents all these values, right? That is how we are exclusive under our side of the house, and we will draw in these types of supporters. So comparatively, when you look at it, side government doesn't actually draw in any more new layers of society, right? Whereas on our side of the house, we actually draw in these people in the gray area. So I think we win this clash clearly on our side of the house. But second of all, on the credibility of the Democratic Party, right? Because they try to prove to you that it's bad for us to actually use this idolizing strategy because we will gain unknowledgeable and uncritical supporters. Why is this wrong, right? Because we have already proven to you from our very first start that the love that inspires people to actually idolize the AOC squad will actually translate to them wanting to know more about AOC squad, wanting to know more what AOC squad represent, right? What AOC squad push forward. I think this is something that is clear in the sense that if you love something, you want to know more about it. So I don't understand why government tries so hard to tell you that this type of people will only support the Democratic Party, but they don't know about their views at all. Because I think this is something that is obvious, right? But even if this type of people don't want to learn about AOC squad and policies, and people from outside the Democratic Party will just see them as unknowledgeable and bandwagoning supporters, why do we still think it's okay, right? We still think it's okay because at least the trade-off is you get these people to support the Democratic Party first, right? Whereas on their side of the house, you don't get these people to actually look even into the Democratic Party at all, and they wouldn't vote, right? This is the type of strategy that is essential and that is the best interest towards the Democratic Party, to actually pull in this type of supporters that they wouldn't otherwise do so if you do not actually push for strategies that idolize AOC's Democratic Party, right? So I think this is a comparative that we win under our side of the house. It's okay. We can see that there might be some people who actually don't care about the policies and might look like unintelligible supporters, but we say it's okay because at least we have these people under our side of the house first, and later we can educate them, or later they can actually vote for the policies that are in line with the Democratic Party. We think we win this clash. But second of all, they also try to tell you that we compromise the credibility of the Democratic Party because we actually don't have any critical and introspection towards AOC squad if we view them as gods, right? We have already mentioned to you from the very first start that there are checks and balances in the society, right? People who actually idolize AOC squad will still we'll see that AOC squad are put into the spotlight, right? If we idolize them, it means we actually put them in the front of every newspaper, Democratic newspaper headline, for example. This means that every one of their actions will be scrutinized. That is the exact kind of introspection that we have under our side of the house. No response to that on any of their speeches, right? We already proved to you that these types of people, AOC squad wouldn't be able to go to like so bad policies because they will still be scrutinized by people if they are put into the spotlight, right? But even if some people see them as gods and think that all their actions are good, we think that it's okay because there will always be backlash over policies, right? So the people who actually still love AOC squad and who are not affected by the backlash are people who are already loyal to the Democratic Party in the first place. This is the type of people that we want in the Democratic Party, that serves the best interest of the Democratic Party, right? So we don't see how this is so harmful under our side of the house. If they try to argue to you that it damages the reputation of the Democratic Party, we think it also happens under their side of the house, right? When these if the fanatics are as extreme as they try to portray to you. But they also try to push to you about how on their side of the house they will have good policies, and that is why people should vote on policies rather than based on idolization of the squad. But they have to first prove to you why the Democratic Party under their side of the house would be powerful enough to push good policies, right? Because we already characterized to you from the very first start that without idolization there will be no power and pressure from the public so proud to oppose.
All right, I thank the opposition whip for that speech. To summarize the debate, I called the reply speech from the opposition. Time is yours.
I'll start in 3, 2, 1. Panels, government side of the House has never won this debate the moment they never prove to you how Democrats will even gain supporters under their side of the House. Two clashes in this debate. First, on the reputation of Democrats, and secondly, on the credibility and quality of politicians on both sides of the House. First, on reputation, right? What we've explained to you is that how we are the side of the House that will actually draw in supporters from the gray area. We told you how it's really important and it's really urgent that representation and relatability is really strong within this AOC squad. How people of color, women, and young people can finally see how they can also strive in politics to become that much of a prominent figure. And this is why we will gain more supporters. How they responded to this is essentially by saying, oh, people will just bandwagon and will create that reputation. We've responded to this very extensively, right, in two ways. First, we have told you and proven to you how people aren't that irrational. We told you how exactly idolization is the only way to get people to be exposed to politics in the first place, because we need exposure first by idolizing, and then after exposure they will finally do policy research like all they really champion about, but will never be existent under government side of the house, because people don't care and people do not want to hear about politics at the first place. At least by idolizing you will get exposure. We've proven to you this, and that is why it is much better under our side of the house. But in second response to bandwagoning, we have told you that even at the very first case, even if bandwagoning happens and bad reputations happen, even if people see Democratic supporters as unintelligible, we think that the trade-off is okay, because at least you get supporters first and you can create change with that supporters base. You can have more votes. In contrast, at government, you don't get any new supporters at all. That is why in this first part we win. But then secondly, still in the clash of repetition of Democrats, we think that the values of Democrats, we have also told you how the values of Democrats is really in line with AOC, how the squad is really in line with Democrats. No response to why it's not in line, right? All they have tried to respond is that, oh, those kinds of policies are unrealistic. We have responded to you in two responses. First, we have also to you how these kinds of policies are actually realistic, but not in the US yet. Then second response, we have told you how a political party must always fight for change that's in line with their values. We proved to you how you need to set a higher bar for change, because at least you get a change even if it's not zero emissions. But doesn't equal to zero under opposition. When you fight for it, then when under government, you settle with realistic, quote unquote realistic, that's not actually in line with what the Democrats truly actually champion, right? That's why for real change for Democrats, side opposition fully wins this debate. Then second clash, right, on credibility and quality of politicians. What they try to champion throughout their whole debate is that, oh, you need check and balance. There is no introspection under opposition side of the house. We've told you how media exposure will be much more stronger under our side of the house, how the check and balance will be much more stronger under our side of the house, because media exposure to these AOC squad will be much more stronger, and therefore the AOC squad will be much more careful politicians. We will create more careful politicians, because now every single step the AOC and squad will be very meticulous and at their every action, because they will be watched by the media. This is why idolization is creates much better check and balance. But in second response, we have also proven to you how people who view this squad as gods, we think that we have already told you how these are fanatics of Democrats. They're already in line with Democrats in the first place, and it's not exclusive to our side of the house. Their side of the house also has these fanatics. This is why, on the quality of politicians, it's under our side of the house, media exposure has never been responded. We are the side of the house that have won this debate by proving you how Democrats will actually create change. They've never proven otherwise. So we're very proud to oppose.
All right, I thank the speaker for that speech. To close the debate, I call the reply speaker from the government side of the house. Time's yours.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Cool. Wait, I'm arranging my papers. Okay. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. I'm so sorry that there's at the house think that they can win this debate, right? Well, all they do is dismissing our points, ladies and gentlemen. They never really engage to our points, which I'm going to talk about in this speech. 3 things in this speech. Firstly, about which side can vote well and also maintain the value of the Democrats itself. Secondly, which side can gain more support and have the political power. Thirdly, about which side create better government and also government who is in charge or even create better politician, right? Onto the first point, which side can can fulfill the value of the Democrats? We think that the Democrats itself hold value of the liberal, right? Such as Green New Deal or solving racial inequality and so on and so forth. Therefore, in order for this value in order for this value to be implemented into the policy itself have also to be contingent upon this kind of value, right? We think under outside the house exactly because there's also evaluation from coming from the AOC group. We think that exactly we can combat with this kind of issue better because we still create progress at least, right, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, given the fact under the Sata house, they only say because we degrade the value of the liberals. We don't think so. We still have the value of the liberal itself. We can still solve the racial inequality better. We still can give healthcare accessible to everyone, even if it's cost, but still it is a change and still accessible for everyone, and it is still a progress. They never really responded to this. We win this point. But now onto the second point about gain more support, right? Because this is funny because they only rely on the fact that young people, that gray area is the most majority, right? Because we don't think so, right? Their scope of debate is really small because they only rely on the people that don't even have interest to the politics, and secondly, they don't even know or want to vote to begin with, right? Because they only rely on the bandwagon itself, and they still say that it is okay, because we don't think so, right? Exactly, because they're only proposing what already happened on the current status quo, that young people idolizing and also creating bandwagon, idolizing AOC because she plays Among Us and so on and so forth, because we think exactly it is still not enough, right? By our proposal, we still can create better policy. We think under outside the house, check and balance will be better, and so since we can cater to the interest of the centrists as well, because of course the policy of the AOC before was really leftist and too idealistic, exactly because that policy is problematic. We can create this policy to be evaluated and also cater to a lot of actors, the centrist itself, the one who is in the gray area or don't even have any political interest to begin with, and thirdly, about the Democrats itself that already stand AOC, right? But lastly, I'm going to talk about which side create better politician, right? Because it is so funny that there's at the house just relying, oh, it is okay because once you get elected, you still can change your policy. Well, that's what happened to Donald Trump, right? You just relying and keep hoping for him. By the time he's already have the political capability and also being elected as the president of the USA, exactly, that is irreversible. He still can do anything he wants, abuse his power, and so on and so forth. They're relying on the kind of scenario which is really dangerous, right, ladies and gentlemen? We don't think you can buy this argument, right? But comparatively, under outside the house, we think check and balance will be performed even before the election, before this leader is being elected, right? Because we think under outside the house, exactly because we put constant supervision, tight supervision to this kind of people that is going to be elected in the parliament. Exactly, we can create better check and balance, not putting them. I'm not portraying them as a godly image, right? So proud to propose. Thank you.